Okay, first thing that we're going to do is we are going to draw out our value scale. So you need to locate your extra space that's in your project. Most of you have them at the top. If you goofed, your extra space is at the bottom. Okay? So it needs to be your very, very, very top row. That's what it should be. Okay? So I am doing this on a separate piece of paper because I need to do this 4 times today. Okay, so you need to get your project in front of you. You need to find where that empty space is, and you're going to be creating this value scale just kind of right in the middle of that space. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure out an 11-inch triangle, or excuse me, rectangle. Okay. Oh, didn't come out very well. Try again. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just laying my ruler down. I'm not being super precise about this. And I'm just marking off at 11 inches. Then I'm going to go, about 1.5 inches on either side. You can measure that if you want or not. Doesn't really matter. And you're putting this in your empty space, like kind of in the middle. Should be at the very, very top. In the middle of that space up at the very top. Doesn't have to be. Okay. Just draw an 11-inch rectangle in that space, anywhere within that space. If you keep it off of an edge, you don't have to worry about getting paint on the table. Okay, once you draw that 11-inch rectangle, you're going to measure at every inch. I think you can because I think Miranda's done taking the flats out. Okay, so you draw your 11-inch rectangle. Then you're going to mark off at every inch, which gives you up to 10. And then I just measured, and I'm just drawing lines down. So it's not like this thing has to be very precise. Okay, so you should have 11 squares total. And you guys can kind of see where I started on the value scale last hour. So I'm going to do some tweaking for you guys so it's more accurate. Okay, raise your hand if you're still making this rectangle and sectioning it out. Okay, I only had like 4 people tell me. I'm going to stay paused for a little while longer, and then I'm going to move on. Guys, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just as long as it's 11 inches long and you give yourself at least an inch worth of space. It does not need to be perfect. Okay, I'm going to go slow, but I'm going to move on. Everyone that's ready, on the very left-hand side, in that first box at the top, in the middle, wants you to write a small 0. Okay, and then the next one after that is number 1. Then number 2. Number 3. Number 4, number 5, or 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Oh, mine's on the edge of mine, like on the line, like on the outside of the box. Is that
Your numbers? Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. At number 5, right below that number or above, whatever, in small lettering, I want you to write the word pure. At 0, I want you to write white. 0. At 10, write black. Okay, then you guys are going to catch on to a pattern here in a second. Okay, number 4. I want you to write pure plus 1, and I'm just going to write a W for white. Pure plus 1 white. Then 3, that is pure plus 2 white. Can you guys guess what number 2 box is? Yep. Pure plus 3 white. And then your 1 box is pure plus 4 white. All right, and then you kind of do the same for 6 and above, but with black. So 6 is pure plus 1 black. 7 is pure plus 2 black, and I'm going to shorthand it by putting just a B in that one. 8 is pure plus 3 black. And 9 is pure plus 4 black. Okay? So we're doing this mathematically, but I also want you to understand that even though we're using a mathematical system here to kind of keep a standard, it doesn't necessarily work every single time because we're human beings and we do things different each time that we do them, even if we repeat it. So for example, what this means, like pure plus 1 white, means if I pick up an amount of pure, whatever that amount would be, I would want to pick up the same exact amount in white 1 time. But most of the time, you guys can't pick up, nor myself, can pick up the same amount of white as we did with the color, as is showing up here. So you guys can kind of see where I started this value scale, but this is too big of a jump between 5 and 4. Okay, so I'm going to try and correct it out a little better for you guys to get a more accurate value scale than this one, while still trying to follow this mathematical procedure. Okay? Okay, so you guys can put your pencils and rulers away. You don't need those. And then we're going to start mixing here. So then start getting your paints in front of you. If you didn't get yourself paper towels, come grab yourself some paper towels up off of the cart here, because you needed to dry and clean your brushes off as we work through this.
I only grabbed one.
One is okay. One is fine. All right, guys. Here we go. Shh, 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 shh. Okay. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fill in our opposite ends of the spectrum and right in the middle. So for 0 white, first before you dip your brush into any paint, if you already have, that's okay. We're going to get want you to wash your brush out in your water, even if you just picked up some paint. So I want you to get into this practice to make sure that your brush is clean every time that you start using it. And every single time that you dip your brush into a new color of paint, you need to wash it before so you don't contaminate your colors. Okay, so we're gonna pick up white, which I've got my kind of paint palette going on here. Okay, so we're gonna pick up white. You're gonna hold your paintbrush kind of like a pencil, and I like to hold it at the top of what this is, the metal part is called the ferrule. So I kind of like to position my fingers right there. I also like to put my pinky down on the surface of whatever I'm working in so that I have greater control of my paintbrush, because pressure, just like in our pencils, come through in the paintbrushes as well. And if you use too much pressure, you're going to get big, wide brush strokes. And you may not want that.
Wait, we're painting the 0 box, right?
Correct. We're in the 0 box labeled white with white paint. If you guys can't do the pinky thing, don't worry about it then, okay? So then the biggest thing here is to just make sure you're letting your paintbrushes kind of glide along the top, and I want you to be careful and conscious and fill it in nicely. So stay within the lines, so on and so forth. Okay, then because I'm about to move on to a new color, I'm going to clean my brush out, and then I'm going to dry it off on my paper towel. Drying it off on your paper towel helps it get cleaner, but then it also makes sure that you don't make watery paint.
My brush is bad. Yeah, I'll get all of you guys.
Okay? Next one we're going to go into is our color, and we're just going straight into our color. Mine's a darker color. I mixed mine personally. You guys just picked one right out of the bottle. So my color is actually up here, but under the lamp it looks black to you guys. So I've got my brush cleaned and dried off. I'm just going right into the pure color, and we're going into box number 5. Okay, so I'm also trying to make sure that I'm getting like an even coat of paint, so it's not streaky. I don't have like blobs of paint everywhere, so I want to make it nice and even. Oh, and if you guys notice too, if you've already painted over what you wrote down, that's fine, but you guys kind of notice on mine that I'm leaving that number and what I wrote still visible. Okay, so this value scale is going to be good practice at learning like how to use your paintbrush, how much paint you should pick up, how to clean, how to dry, so on and so forth. So it's more than just making the value scale. Okay, so I've got my pure color in there, which looks really, really dark to you guys. It's actually a blue-green. And I want you to try to make it as neat as you possibly can. You need to practice it now before you do it on your painting. And guys, another trick too, when I clean my paintbrush out, I go all the way to the bottom of my container and kind of let my container be a platform to be a scrubby, kind of a scrubby spot so I can clean my brush. Okay, so I washed it out, dried it off. Now I'm going to the 10 box, and what's going to go in the 10 box? Black. Pure black, good. Okay, again, just try to make it as neat as you possibly can. If you're noticing that you're real messy right now, that's probably not going to be good for you whenever we actually start painting on our project. So start practicing now on being as neat as you possibly can. All right. And then I've cleaned my brush and I've dried it thoroughly. I'm going to zoom in for you guys here. I'm going to be moving on here in a second. Kind of reposition some things here. Okay. All right. So again, what I want to kind of recorrect out for you guys versus first hour is this is too big of a jump between 5 and 4. There's too much of a difference there. So I'm going to try and follow this mathematical scale, but I'm going to do it a little differently than how I did it in first hour, which this is the problem with painting, in that sometimes you think that equal parts will make the color that you want, but that's not necessarily true. Like some people think that an equal amount of yellow plus equal amount of blue is going to give you a correct green, but not necessarily. If that blue is really, really intense, you're going to get more of a blue green than a regular green because you don't have enough yellow. So this is kind of what is happening here. In here, it was too much white. I used too much white even though I followed that math. So I'm going to lessen that up this time and see if I get it closer. So what I'm going to do to start mixing, and you guys can do this too, so we're going to pick up a little bit of our color. So probably about that much on your paintbrush, and you're going to wipe it, just lay it back down on another part on your magazine. So I'm kind of laying it on top of a spot that I had already used as a mixing. Okay? And then I'm going to clean my brush off because I'm going to dip my paintbrush into the white, and I don't want to contaminate my white paint with my blue color. Okay? So I picked up some of my pure.
Wait, hold on.
I picked up some of my pure color.
Yeah.
And then I just wiped it off on a spot on my magazine page because this is our mixing palette. Now I'm going to go into, and I'm going to kind of move my palette around here. Just going to put it right on top. Okay, so this is where I moved my pure color to, over here, down in this corner. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some white, and I'm only going to pick it up once, but I'm going to pick up a little bit less than what I picked up in my pure color. Okay, so I'm only picking it up one time, but I picked up a lesser amount than the pure that I had grabbed. And then I'm going to go ahead and straight mix. Okay, this isn't too bad. I could go with it. It's definitely darker than the first time that I started this morning, but I think I want to adjust a little bit. I still think it's too big of a jump. So I'm going to clean my brush out, and I'm going to go back into my pure color, and I'm going to pick up some of my pure color. So you guys kind of have to decide on how light, and I'm only picking up a little tiny bit, like
This is for our 4.
this is the 4, yeah.
Have to judge.
You can, well, you can just go with, if you get your white in there, you can just go for it. Okay, personally, I knew that it was still a little bit light, so I wanted to go a little darker. You just want it to go one step down, basically.
Ooh, that's pretty good, right?
Okay, so I've got it here. So it should just be a little bit lighter, a little bit pastel. You know, those real, like during Easter time, all those pastel colors. Yeah, all those real light colors.
I like it, but
Okay. Can you guys see the difference between my first hour and your guys' hour now?
Yeah.
Okay, see how much more accurate this one is than that first hour one? Now, let's say that you went for it. You were like, I just wanted to figure this out and make sure. And then you put it on there and it was too light. That's okay. Let it dry. You can come back and remix it later, darker, and paint right over it. That's the cool thing about paint. So it's not like you can erase it, but you can paint over it. Okay? Okay, so I'm cleaning my brush out and I'm gonna move on to number 3. So the point to number 3 is you want it to look like it's 2 steps down from 5, but only 1 step down from 4. And we should all be familiar with this with our value scale.
Miss Anderson, this is low-key like dragging the lead thing. Like, yeah, my pencil line color into it.
It sounds like your paint is too thin, like it's too watery. Is it really transparent? Like, can you really see through it? No? Okay, well, what color are you using back there?
Red.
Red,
The red looks orange on Amanda's paper. It like looks really transparent and see-through.
It looks really red.
It could be a little watery. Okay, guys, so it's okay. We're just kind of working through it. We'll get to be masters of this. Okay, so for number 3, I'm going in and I'm doing the same. So I picked up some color on my brush and I'm gonna lay it down. I'm gonna wash that color off because I don't want to contaminate my white. And then I want to pick up about 2 times the amount that I picked up the first time. So you can either pick it up twice and lay it down, or you can go for kind of 2 times the amount. So I'm going for kind of 2 times the amount, and I'm kind of adjusting a little bit. I think I picked up a little too much, so I'm kind of putting it back on my magazine. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix. Now again, if I feel like I didn't mix it correctly, I can go in and put more color. But I think I hit it with that one. Okay, so it should really make sure you mix. Don't let there be any streaky white left in there or any streaky of whatever color. Mix it thoroughly. So I think I did fine there. I think it's 1 step down from 4. And so I'm going to go ahead and paint that into my 3 box. Okay. The other trick is you got to make sure that whenever you're grabbing your self paint that you get yourself enough to fill in that area.
Low-key me too.
So if you matched, you need to add more white.
Mine is really pink, but it's really pretty. So it's
I can't. Will you give me another brush? Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna move on to box number 2. So I'm gonna do the same thing. This time I'm gonna start grabbing a little less color and grabbing more white. So I'm gonna grab just a little bit of my color here, wipe it down on my magazine, clean my brush off, and I wanna grab about 3 times the amount of white. So now I'm starting to add, my ratio is now more white to color. Okay, and I'm thoroughly mixing it, making sure I don't have any streaky blue or any streaky white in there on my brush or on the paper. And I'm kind of almost matching what I got last hour, but I think it's a good fit. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into the 2 box. Another thing you guys got to remember is that your paint is going to dry a little bit darker than what you had mixed up. So if it looks just a little too light right now, it more than likely is going to dry where you want it to.
I think that's way too.
Okay? How's my speed? Am I going too fast?
a little bit.
Okay. I'll pause for just a little bit.
I keep not getting enough.
Okay. All right, you guys ready for me to?
No.
No? Okay. All right, I'll wait. I'll wait.
This is darker than that.
Yeah, put more white.
Can't compromise the white, gotta rerinse it off.
Okay, so you definitely want to be making sure that your values, your tints, that they're different from each other. If they're all looking the same, you're not mixing them up right.
Will you come around and check? Like,
Yeah, I'll check here in a minute because I think I'm gonna let you guys try to tackle shades on your own for the most part.
Yay.
Yeah. So I'll do the 6 with you guys, but then you guys can finish up the rest of it on your own. If we got time. Yeah. It's very subtle,
It's very subtle. It's
but
not, like, full.
Okay, I'm gonna finish the last one. So guys, I'm gonna do this one a little different, okay? Because I'm using so much more white than I am color, I'm gonna do it a little opposite, where I wanna just grab my white first and then just add a little bit of color to that instead. So sometimes you change your tactic. So I'm gonna grab some white,
Please tell me not to be dark.
and I'm gonna lay that down on a spot on my magazine here. And then I'm just gonna pick up barely a little bit of color and do it that way. So technically my ratio is still like 4 to 1. So I'm just gonna pick up just a bare amount of color. Like, do you guys see on the tip of my paintbrush here how much I'm picking up? Just a little bit.
that's how much paint is sticking out.
A little tiny bit. Okay? So then I'm just using that little tiny amount and adding it into the white, so it should just be barely tinted your color. Just barely. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and put that into 1.
It's like a loud.
Yeah, for purple, it would be like a really light lavender.
If we're out
So
of
like this.
If you're out of white, you can grab more. If there's someone at your table that got too much paint, you can kind of steal some of theirs.
Let's do your white here.
Yeah.
That color.
Yep. Like mine is like a super light sky blue. It almost looks like. Yeah, it's going. You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Water.
All right, guys. Okay, I'm gonna do this last one with you, box number 6, and then you might have enough time to do 6 and 7, but then we'll finish this up tomorrow.
It is a little moist.
Okay. So the biggest difference between black and white is that black is so much more intense than white. So you have to use even less black than you think you would need to achieve your correct shades, okay? So just like with the pure plus the 1 white, we're still going to follow that same pattern, but less black than white to start with, okay? So I'm gonna grab up my color, and remember, this one's more color than black, so there's the amount that I'm picking up there. I'm gonna put that on my magazine. I'm gonna clean my brush so I don't contaminate. I'm gonna dry it off on my paper towel. Then I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of black, okay? So, okay, can you guys see on the tip of my paintbrush how much black I'm picking up?
Is this for 6?
This is for number 6, yep. So very little. Very little.
Can I use the restroom, please?
I would probably wait until I'm done demonstrating. Okay, so just a little bit of black to start with. I may have to adjust. So you're just wanting this to be just a tad darker than your pure color. Okay. So just that little bit of black, it did get it just a little bit darker. Let's see. Do I need to go?
I literally made it black. That's bad.
You used too much. Remember? I grabbed just a little bit, little tiny bit. A little bit goes a long way. So, Michaela, just go with what you got and then let it dry, and you'll just mix it different tomorrow and come back and paint over it.
I didn't put it on the thing dark.
Oh, okay. Just you mixed it. Okay, mix it too dark? Okay. All right, guys.